What's going on, my beautiful black gods and goddesses? It's God Molecular, here to spread the religion of Mofadai, which is the religion of no religion, here to dismantle and disassemble all religion by the year 2034. I thank you guys for tuning in. I come as Amen, reincarnated this new age, that of the 226th dynasty, which stemmed from King Solomon, who held a descendant by the name of Haile Selassie I, who occupied that of the 225th dynasty. 3 salutes. Ready? Go. And that is in tribute to Amen, as he was known as the Most High and the most logical being or deity at his time. I come as him reincarnated to usher in the new age of Aquarius, also known as the age of the 6, as we have transpired from the age of the Pisces, also known as the age of the 7. And that is as of August 21st, 2017, titled Day of the Great American Eclipse. I thank you guys for listening. I thank you guys for joining. So I titled this audio, the title of this audio is, Should Polygamy Be an attribute of Black Unity? Why I believe everlasting life is when a woman becomes pregnant through the mouth. Also, why every black woman should have sex with another black woman. Intellectual convo on consciousness, right? Now, I know a lot of black women, they may hear me say something like that and be like, okay, this nigga just want females to fuck other females, and he just want, to just fuck with women that fuck with other women, and he just want a bunch of wives, and a lot of black women, they don't intellectually comprehend the brother. So they cast judgment, and they don't listen to the intellectual side of my perspectives, which any black wise woman or any black wise woman would do, right? She wouldn't tune out and she wouldn't say all these things or think all these things without at least listening to my side of the story, right? If you go through all of my audios that I have been releasing, I speak nothing but intellect, and my intellect hits the soul, the consciousness, the deepest consciousness of a cosmic comprehensive person. You have to be someone who thinks not only outside of the box, but you have to think outside of the triangle. You have to think outside of the rectangle. You have to think outside of the circle. You have to think outside of the sphere. You have to think outside of the hexagon. You have to think outside of whatever shape that you know to exist in any either 2-dimensional, 1-dimensional, or 3-dimensional form. And this is imperative. I'm speaking to those of a higher consciousness, those of a higher intuition, those who really seek the truth, who wants to find the truth, because the truth is simply interesting to them. These are the ones that I'm speaking on. These are the ones that I'm speaking to, I should say, But having a higher consciousness and dealing with a higher consciousness involves you thinking outside of this paradigm, thinking outside of this prism or prison that you have been placed in mentally and programmed to understand a certain level of education. And it's important to understand yourself mentally as a beautiful black melanoid person in this new age, because your mentality pertains to the liberation of all of your people. We have to think on scales that are unimaginable. We have to think on an unimaginable level. If you can't even imagine it, you are to think on that level, because that is what's going to manifest an unimaginable reality, which is the only thing that could progress all of humanity, the unimaginable reality. So a lot of black women, they tune out when I say things of this nature, polygamy, when I talk about polygamy, when I talk about sperm, oral sex, when I speak about sex, period. A lot of women tune this out. A lot of women tune it out because it entices them, and they're trying to live on their so-called righteous path. Men as well, not only women, but men as well. I convict you guys as well, my brothers as well, because they're trying to live on this so-called righteous path, so-called holy, righteous, spiritual path, and they're running away from a reality that deals with their intuition sexually. And these are people who are going to remain stagnant in their cosmic education. And this stagnance is going to drive them into a diminishing. They're going to diminish. They're going to perish, disintegrate, however you want to look at it. A lot of people who speak on a conscious level, like myself, a lot of people say that you can't save all. You can't save all the black people, But brothers like myself, or uniquely like myself, I seek to save each and every last black person on this planet, and I will save each and every last black melanoid being on this planet. I will save each and every last one of us. So don't come to me, talking about you can't save them all, or you can't bring everybody to the light. Some people are going to have to die, and I don't want to hear that. I'm here as Amen Ra to save each and every last black melanoid person on this planet. And the universe is going to move in my favor so that I may do this. I'm going to complete Mission Impossible, simply because I am who I am. So now that we got that out the way, is polygamy, or should polygamy be an attribute of black unity? Should polygamy be an attribute of black unity? That's the question. That's the first question that we have to ask ourselves. And even though I also promote monogamy, I promote polygamy, or polyandry, which is a woman having more than one husband. I promote them all. But I believe that polygamy is the key simply because of the sperm cell. A lot of people disregard the sperm cell. A lot of people who come into consciousness, they disregard the sperm cell. They disregard the role of the male, the diabolical role of the male. They disregard this because their understanding hits a glass ceiling. And in that glass ceiling, the role of the woman is more imperative to the contribution of all of humanity than the male. But if you listen to my previous audio when I was explaining the beginning of time, when I was explaining the beginning of time and how the beginning of time took place and how things begin, you will see that I adamantly, exclusively magnified the understanding of synchronization. And in synchronization, male and female have very important roles to all of humanity. Not just woman alone, not just man alone, but synchronization between them both, man and woman, is imperative to the continuance of all of human life. In the beginning, there had to have been both in order to continue life. And even science shows this on a macrocosmic level. And that is intelligence, catapulting yourself into intelligence. But I believe that polygamy is the strongest of all relationships out of polyandry and monogamy. It is the strongest. It is the strongest concept of a relationship simply because of the male sperm, the sperm cell. Right? A lot of women like to say, I carried a baby. I carried my child for 9 months. But when you have a scientific understanding of what sperm is, you will see that a father, through the X chromosome, right? Through the X chromosome, the father has carried the child since the beginning of his life. Through the X chromosome, right? There are certain genetics that can only be passed down from father to son, just like there are certain genetics that can only be passed down from mother to daughter. And through the X chromosome, these traits, a lot of people don't even understand what a trait is, how a trait establishes itself into the human biological understanding. A lot of people don't understand the in-depth knowledge and science behind a trait, which corresponds with the knowledge and science of talents. A lot of people don't understand talents as well. Your child having a talent. You having a talent. A lot of people don't understand things of this nature simply because they're being led on a conscious level to disregard the in-depth thinking or the in-depth comprehension of divine cosmic knowledge. Right? So polygamy is the strongest of them all simply because of the sperm cell. The sperm cell, or the sperm period, when a male ejaculates, when a male releases sperm, which is 23 chromosomes externally, when a male, and he is the only human that could do this, the only human that can do this, and that's not to take anything away from my black women, but once a lot of us become conscious, we give an over extra credibility to the contribution of the feminine understanding or the black woman. A lot of us become extra, and I'm here to level out the two to show you guys that they are equal. When it comes to the melanated, the black man and woman, they are equal in understanding, even in science and things of that nature, biologically and things of that nature. So the sperm cell, the male can release, or the male is the only human, not Neanderthal, not white individuals, but the only human, which are black melanoid people. The male could make 23 chromosomes external to his body. 23 chromosomes can become external to the body. They can completely separate from the body and go into this world. A lot of people look at me crazy, or a lot of men, especially black men, they look at me crazy when I say that you should plant your semen. You should take your semen and plant your semen next to a tree. You don't have to go out in nature. You don't have to understand. You don't have to be someone who's in the tropics. You don't have to go out in nature in order to fully 100% connect with nature. All you have to do is scientifically apply yourself to the cosmos through nature. And you can do that by taking your sperm cell, or your sperm, period, and planting your sperm 6 inches into the ground next to a tree, right? If you can, plant it next to the root of a tree. And that will instantly connect you with all of nature. All of nature. Because you've given nature 23 chromosomes of the information that makes up your genetic makeup. A lot of people like to talk about chromosomes. What are chromosomes? What is chromatin? What are the functions of chromatin? And the chromatin or chromosomes deals with the nuclei, not the nucleus, but the nuclei of a cell, which is inside of the nucleus of a cell, the very center of the cell. The very center of the cell deals with a thermic presence. It has a thermal presence, right? This thermal presence pertains to how cells and atoms position themselves. And their positioning corresponds with what they're going to do. However, a cell is sitting in its position, it corresponds with what it's going to do to its environment. Position is very important, even down to the subatomic level. Not atomic level, but subatomic level, which is lesser than the atomic level. So the position of the nuclei, or the nuclei itself, could only be, the information that's inside of the nuclei could only be extracted by two things, right? The endothermic reticulum and what scientists call messenger RNA. These things could extract information and take that information and place it into something else. So the importance of sperm is to be understood, especially by the black woman. Why? Because the black woman has a nature to nurture children, no matter if she likes children or not. A child is the only thing that could impact her core emotion, right? If a man dies, on the street, and a black woman reads about it, she'll probably get emotionally touched. But if a child dies on the street, it does something to her subconscious, even if she's conscious of it or not. It does something to her her inner self, to the point where it persuades how she develops in hormones, right? So when you look at sperm could be made externally, or sperm is 23 chromosomes that could become external to the body. Males are the only humans that could do this. We are the only ones that could make 23 chromosomes become external to the body. As at one point in time, the black woman understood this as a very unique and dynamic science, to the point where she enhanced the diet of the black man, which impacted his fertilization productivity, which overall resulted in how her child was going to be made or created. The black woman used to be a supreme diabolical scientist at some point in time. A scientist that's so structured in its education and application to the cosmos, that in today's time we could see that scientist as a deviant in some way, in some way, shape, form, or fashion, right? A threat, simply because she understood the science of life, and she especially understood the application of sperm and how sperm could impact her offspring, right? So when a male ejaculates, what happens? Science shows that this male produces billions. There's no exact number because each male is unique. But it has been concluded that the mass majority of males, when they ejaculate, they produce billions and billions and billions of these little sperm cells. Each and every time they ejaculate, no matter the amount of sperm produced in that ejaculation, there are billions of sperm cells. There are billions of sperm cells inside of that ejaculation. Each and every last one of my black brothers, we walk around daily with the universal and cosmic power to repopulate an entire planet in an instant through ejaculation. Because every time a male ejaculates, he can repopulate an entire planet. He can repopulate an entire planet. Now, we thought on a critical level, right? Imagine a woman was on a spaceship driving throughout space, and something happened to her spaceship, and she crashed on Earth where there were nothing but men. Nothing but men. And there was a shortage of men, but there was nothing but men on this planet. How long would it take for this woman to repopulate the Earth? Massively, on a massive scale. How long would it take for this one woman? This is thinking on a critical level. How long would it take for one woman to repopulate this entire planet? It will take a time that's beyond her lifetime to do so. Because no matter if she has twins, triplets, sextuplets, doesn't matter what she has. She has to carry these children at least 9 months before they're born. So beyond her lifetime would be the answer, because she would have to carry these children 9 months at a time to repopulate this entire planet. And that's not to take anything away from my beautiful black goddesses. This is factual evidence, factual law, factual scientific law. It is a truth that can be proven and seen with the own two eyes, most importantly. But imagine a male, if he was in a spaceship, his spaceship crashed, and he landed on a planet where there was nothing but women. And these women were seeking to repopulate themselves. How long would it take for that man to repopulate that planet? The answer to that is, it will take him one time to ejaculate. It will take him one time to ejaculate, and he will be able to repopulate that entire planet. One time. This is cosmic power, cosmic law that could be proven through science and borne witness with the own two eyes. Every man on this planet could repopulate an entire planet in an instant. So this is why polygamy has to be looked at in a different scope when it comes to intellectual perspective and propelling your intuition. It will take a man an instant, one instant, which is the time that he ejaculates. It will take him one instant to be able to repopulate this entire planet. This is a position of divine, cosmic, critical thinking. The universe was thinking critical when it created a male. The universe had to have had in mind that the time of extinction could arrive to all of humanity when it was creating a male. So polygamy is to be looked at in a different perspective because of the application of sperm. If a man wanted 12 children, all the same age, if he wanted 10 children, and I always say that God should be able to do what God wants, including having as many children as he wants, if he wants them all to be the same age. So if a man wanted 12, 20, 30, 40 children, and he wanted them all to be the same age, he is able to do this simply because of sperm. But a woman cannot do this. She is limited in her natural understanding of birth. Her body can only deliver children 9 months at a time. And this creates a gap between the birthing of these children. So she cannot produce a child. She cannot produce 20 children, 20, 30 children, all the same age. If she wanted to, she cannot do this. So brothers like myself who talk about polygamy, I'm thinking on a critical scale. The woman's nature is to nurture children. The man's nature is to reproduce on a cosmic level to the point where he can repopulate an entire planet in an instant. That gives him the sole responsibility to protect the anti-extinction of all of human life. It's very important that we think on a critical level, It's very important that we think on critical scales. Today's time has allowed for most black women who see brothers who promote polygamy as sex hounds. We're lustful. When you have brothers like myself who promotes polygamy, who wouldn't adore the time of being one-on-one sexually with a woman, I can care less about having sex with multiple women at once. I can care less about that. This doesn't intrigue me. This doesn't sexually arouse me. But on a critical and cosmic level, I can understand the perspective of polygamy. Has nothing to do with sex, with sexual desire, which most women think, you know. The unintelligent women. Women who have no fucking sense. They cannot fucking think outside of these shapes, such as a box that has imprisoned them. Women that are quick to fucking judge. They are airheads. They run into brothers like myself who has a divine scientific understanding of polygamy. And I'm able to get them to at least consider my perspective, simply because science and cosmic law shows the promotion of polygamy. There are more black women on this planet than black men. Fuck what these statistics shows. Fuck what these universal researchers shows or university researchers shows. Fuck all of this shit. Can you see this? Can you go outside and count how many women that you see and how many men that you see? That is called dealing with your utmost common sense, your utmost logic. The only thing that can propel your cosmic comprehension and develop your intuition. I'm from Orlando, Florida. Born and raised. And ever since I could remember, I've been seeing more women than there are men. A lot of black women, you know, feminist women, women with no intellect. They like to say things like, "Oh, there's equal amount of men and women on this planet," or the only reason why you see more men is because men are incarcerated and killing themselves. But you have people like myself who understand that all things happen for a reason, including that incarceration and mass killing of oneself. All things happen for a reason. All things happen for a fucking reason. And that reason has guided and governmented the tides of time. Yeah, more men are incarcerated. Yeah, there's more black men killing each other. No matter what the reason is, whether we want to say it's oppression, systemic oppression, no matter what the reason is, it is happening for a reason. And that is to not insult the intelligence of the cosmos, because all things happen for a reason. Whether good or bad, they happen for a reason. So we have to shoot or push ourselves beyond that understanding and come to the conclusion that we are placed in a position, a certain perspective in this cosmic reality on this earth. We are placed in a position so that we may realize a certain infrastructure amongst us as human. And in us realizing that, we may be able to create solutions that involve all of humanity. That's important, you know. Us as black people, we have to study things of this nature. We have to think on critical levels. We have to understand reasoning. Everything exists for a reason, you know. Everything happens for a reason. That reason may not be understood. You may not be able to comprehend the exact reasoning, but you are able to understand and comprehend that it happens for a reason. Everything, no matter good or bad. So polygamy is enforced by the nature of the development of sperm. This is the only reason why I say that black men should be polygamists, because they produce sperm. And sperm could repopulate an entire planet in an instant. A woman is unable to do this. She only could push out one child at a time. Unless they're Siamese, of course. But she can only push out one child at a time. This limits her. Males are natural polygamists, and this is why when you study ancient times, great civilizations, great intellectual civilizations, in our black cosmic understanding, you will see that polygamy was of the utmost of all the relationships. Monogamy did not come about until this Neanderthal structured itself and started to develop a yearning for power. Monogamy did not come along until later on in the development of the ages. Simply because white individuals, I'm not going to say Europeans, because the original European is black. So white individuals, they sought after power. So you had things like arranged marriages and things like monogamy that developed. Because if my daughter married your son, that means that my family has access to your wealth. It's a business move. It's a business move that promotes the position of power. Monogamy. That's why when you get deeper and deeper into it, black logic, deeper and deeper into black history, our story, when you get deeper and deeper into black our story, you will see that polygamy was the main source of civility and infrastructure amongst a civilization, an intelligent civilization. There were pharaohs, spiritual leaders who had multiple wives. A lot of black women, that are, I call them selfish, because a lot of black women say, I want to be the only one, I want to do this, I want to do that. But you're not even understanding your male sexually. A lot of people look at me crazy when I say that having sexual intercourse, a male penetrating a female, is not an overall sexual energy exchange. It's not. It's not a complete sexual energy exchange until the woman swallows the sperm. Simply because of the mitochondria, the phosphates, the enzymes, the isozymes, the sugars, the triphosphates, everything that is, all of the information that pertains to that male's body, that male's core existence, is inside of that sperm. So if you do not swallow this sperm, if you do not add this sperm to your stomach, which has a pH balance, that sperm could survive. An acid, that sperm could survive. Sperm survives the dangerous pH balances of the stomach. If you don't know what pH is, it stands for potential hydrogen. Potential hydrogen. Sperm could survive. Sperm is the only naturally made substance by a male, by a human, period, that could survive the dangerous levels of the stomach's pH balance. Sperm. And after it survives, it impacts the woman's health for the better. Because of the natural material that's made of it. There used to be a time when black women would biologically understand sperm, and they would get their men to eat certain things only so his sperm would taste to whatever they desired it to taste like. They would get their males to eat certain things, sweetening his sperm, because sperm carries sugars, so-called sugars, which gets into phospholipids, what scientists call phospholipids. And these phospholipids, they get into the body and they reach polarity. And they form shapes through this polarity. Shapes that are similar to what scientists call the amylopectin. These amylopectins get together with the carbon atom, because the carbon atom is the only thing that can connect. It's one of the most diverse things that can connect different types of molecules in cells. The carbon atom connects these molecules, and these molecules start to impact the helix that's inside of the DNA, the pyrimidines that's inside of the DNA, and the purines, which make rings inside of the DNA. These rings are persuaded by either adenine, thymine, guanine, or cytosine. These are so-called proteins that shapes the DNA, which are codes known as A, C, T, or G. And you can research all these things, you know. This is science, basic biology. Not basic, but in-depth biology. You have to be a supreme master scientist, like myself, in order to truly understand the application of these things, you know. It forms a helix after what scientists call conformation. Conformation pertains to the flaps of how a cell connects with another cell. There's flaps. And these cells are persuaded by things such as hemoglobin, the hemoglobin, or the collagen cells. Hemoglobin cells are more of a active spiral movement within the molecular structure. A spherical spherical movement in the molecular structure. And the collagen atom hits more on the alpha carbons understanding of the biological distribution and establishment of things, which is of a more spiral application. And it takes conformation after things like geometrical isomers, structural isomers get together and take shape and become a carbon skeleton atom, a carbon skeleton molecule, I'm not known as God Molecular for no reason. No one could challenge my science. No one could challenge my understanding of biology. I am a master in biology. And I'm able to break these things down so that they may hit the comprehension immediately and take one's consciousness into a higher, intuitive understanding. Sperm is one of the most diverse things on this earth. There's a reason why they call sperm semen. And there's a reason why the most massive thing on this earth is the sea. When a lot of women who taste sperm, they say that it's salty and things of that nature. Well, when you go to the ocean, you taste ocean water, it's salty. This is why it's called the sea. And sperm is called semen. Right? And when you look into the sea, what do you see? You see fish that have tails, fins, that are similar to the tails or fin of sperm cells. The sea, semen. It's important to understand these metaphorical applications of our reality. When you break down the science of semen, it has a phosphate, which they used to call the devil's stone, because it could be applied to life in a very diverse way. You look at things like the SOC 2485 compound, which pertains to melanin. You look at things like luciferin, which causes for the anglerfish to glow in the dark, in the deepest, darkest place on the earth. It has something that comes out of his head that glows because of luciferin. This pertains to light and how it converts darkness into light. These are all things that happen within the sea. Semen could convert energy into very diverse things. So you are what you eat. A lot of people, especially black women, they think I'm trying to be, this overconfident brother who's giving a super credibility to black men in this world. When I in actuality, I consider them both, black men and black women, equal. They think that I'm trying to, put the black man on the pedestal, and I'm trying to give this credibility, this overall credibility to the black. But they think that I'm trying to place black men up on this pedestal because I am a black man myself, and I'm trying to manipulate the black woman or, things of that nature, when I'm only giving the truth. That which I have been revealed. A lot of black men aren't going to give this truth, who understand this truth, because they seek to manipulate. And that's not in my nature. That's not in my blood to do so. This is pure factual understanding, pure factual science that could be furthered. This science could be furthered. So, when you study sperm, or the black woman who has to study sperm, she has to understand these sciences, the application of sperm. When she swallows sperm, that is when she has a full energy, a sacred energy exchange. Because that sperm make it past the dangerous levels, the dangerous pH balances of the stomach, and it impacts her health. And you are what you eat. If you ate a carrot, whatever is inside of that carrot, chances are you're going to develop different types of characteristics physically that pertains to that carrot. If you ate a peach constantly, nothing but peaches, you're going to develop different type of characteristical features of that peach. So if you consume sperm, this is how Mary remained a virgin. It's a biological application. You look at the allegories of the Bible. This is how Mary remained a virgin and was able to become pregnant, simply because she consumed sperm orally through the mouth. She consumed sperm because whatever she ate, whatever she consumed, down to the cellular level, the atomic level. All of her insides or organs started to replace themselves with the cells or whatever nutrients she was consuming, including her reproductive organs, including her eggs, the embryos of her eggs, the eggs, not the embryos, but the eggs, the ovobomin, which is a protein. Oh, you can look all these things. Ovobomin is a protein that produces the membrane of eggs. So that sperm contributed to that membrane, and over time, it takes time for this to happen. Over time, as these cells replace themselves with the nutrients that was inside of the sperm, over time, the actual statement or the actual biological placement of that sperm ended up impacting one of her eggs. The nutrients that's inside of the sperm created the ovobomin, or the protein, the necessary protein to produce the outer membrane of the egg. It ended up interacting with the egg itself. And over time, she became pregnant. Orally. Over time. It took time for these things to happen. Simply because the sperm could bypass the dangerous levels of the pH balances in the stomach and impact the health for the greater itself. So over time, as she constantly consumed this sperm, her body ingested the sperm, and every cell throughout her entire body was replaced based on the nutrients of the sperm. These nutrients had information inside of them that pertains to her significant other. Thus, she started to conjure up, because every 7 years, the cells that's inside of your memory gland are replaced, 100% replaced. So you should not be able to remember anything from 7 years ago, but you do. And this is because of the intuition, the spiritual application of what you are. But these cells that are replaced throughout your body are replaced by whatever you've been consuming, whatever you've been eating. So if you've been consuming or eating sperm is what's responsible for the majority of what your cells are created of. And these nutrients hold information such as phosphates and phospholipids, and they create a certain spark. That pertains to what scientists call messenger RNA, right? And messenger, not just regular RNA, but messenger RNA, after that spark happens, messenger RNA reacts and produces something in the body known as adenosine. You can look all these things up. Adenosine or adenosine triphosphates. ADP is what they call it. Or ADT, I'm sorry. It could be ADT or ADP, one of either or. But ADP is produced, which is a spark that enhances the structure of whatever is being consumed. So these cells that's inside of your body starts to replace themselves through ADP on what you consume. So this allow a black woman to conjure up thoughts simply because your brain, the cells in your brain are replaced by the cells of what you've been consuming. If you eat a chicken, eventually you're going to have some type of thought that ran across the mind of that chicken. If you eat a fucking cow, this is why I don't eat meat. Eventually, you're going to have a thought that ran across the mind of that cow. Your diet is very imperative to your realistic existence in this physical reality. So the cells were replaced, and so these thoughts started to develop. Thoughts which leans toward the understanding of her spouse, simply because the information through adenosine triphosphate and adenosine deoxide triphosphate, which attaches to the deoxyribonucleic acid. And if you don't know what deoxyribonucleic acid is, on a shorter term, we know it as DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. It's an acid. It's like the amino acid. So the deoxide triphosphate, the adenosine deoxide triphosphates, is a spark that causes this thought to conjure up. These thoughts, which allowed her to understand her male more. She started to develop thoughts that were similar to the actions of her spouse, causing her to understand the actions of her spouse through this sacred energy exchange, which is the woman swallowing the sperm. You can even look at porn to this day. All of us have seen porn. And women are spitting out the sperm. A lot of women, black women, don't like the taste of sperm, and they don't like sperm. It makes them sick to their stomach. They don't like it. But back in ancient times, black women would make their men eat certain things to sweeten the taste or to adjust the taste of this man's sperm. It's no secret that pineapples could apply to, because of its heavy concentration in sugar, so-called sugar, a protein that we know is sugar. It could persuade the actual taste of the male sperm, according to women. Things like pineapples and peaches and grapes. This could adjust the taste of the male sperm to the black woman's liking. So this is why I say things like the black woman has to step outside of herself. She has to get over herself, because this is a critical time, to the point where how she sexually understands biologically what the black man is, she will not sexually understand biologically herself. You have things like circumcision, and I made a post about circumcision. Circumcision is a very diabolical and dynamic technique that has impacted the black community. Circumcision. Because in the surgery of circumcision, or in the process of circumcision, the male loses 23 plus nerves from the penis. 23 plus nerves from the penis. And this causes an emotional shutdown from birth. This causes a sexual numb from birth. So in a sense, good pussy, the good pussy, what we know today as good pussy, it does not exist simply because of circumcision. And this is a programming. Circumcision is a programming. It's a programming that targets black men. because melanin is stimulated when it's being pleased. Melanin, which is the intellectual property of carbon, is stimulated and expounded upon when it's in a pleasurable state, when it's letting off a pleasurable reaction or charge subatomically. It becomes the most creative. It's almost like a drug. Melanin could become a drug. Black people have a more sexual creativity level than white people, simply because they have melanin. Which through the endocannabinoid system, it takes on a more pleasurable statement sexually and pleasurably through pleasure, to the point where it could become addictive. You have to study things of this nature, you know. You have to study their biology. So when a woman replaces her reproductive cells with the nutrients of sperm, over time, there's a chance that she becomes pregnant because of this, through adenosine triphosphates and through the adenosine deoxide triphosphates. That is specifically geared towards the ovobomin. The ovobomin, which is engined by things like cytosine, adenine, guanine, or thymine, which is ACTG, which is responsible for the helix or the DNA itself. It's deep, very deep. It's all connected, and it all runs hand in hand. But the child that she bears, that the child that she conceives, is a completely different child than that. The child that she conceives this way orally becomes a completely different child than the child that she conceives through the vaginal and through vaginal intercourse. And this have been proven by individuals such as the Dalai Lama, a melanoid individual such as the Dalai Lama, who was reborn. The Dalai Lama was reborn after his death at 62. The Dalai Lama was reborn. You can research all these things, you know. The Dalai Lama was reborn through this science, this sacred sexual biological science that I'm giving you, which is why I call it everlasting life. But the Dalai Lama was reborn, and at the age when he died at 62, this rebirth, this physical rebirth, took place. And at the age of 2 years old, of this newborn child, this 2-year-old was able to identify things that only the Dalai Lama knew when he died at 62. So when he was 62 years old, he had friends, from what I read, he had friends that no one else knew that he had. And these friends knew things about him that no one else knew that was going on with him. So when he died at 62 and he rebirthed himself at the age of 2, this 2-year-old child was able to identify each and every last one of these friends. At the age of 2 years old. And these friends were able to communicate things that they only knew, that them themselves only knew about the 62-year-old before he died, to this child, and this child knew the answers to these questions and this level of communication. So then it was determined that the Dalai Lama has successfully been reborn. There's an animation, that I grew up watching known as Avatar, The Last Airbender. And this is how this last airbender was considered to be a specific and unique airbender. Because when he became of age, there was, let me give you a quick breakdown of this cartoon animation. There's these beings that, have these specific attributes. They can either control water, fire, wind, or air. But there's one being that is born that can control all four at one time. And this individual was known as the Avatar. So every time a new Avatar comes into this world, after the old Avatar dies, a new Avatar comes into this world. And the monks were able to know whether or not this new Avatar was reborn, or this Avatar was reborn, simply because the child would pick out the same exact toys. They would like to play with the same exact toys as the previous airbender, the one who's able to manipulate all four elements. And this was sublime content of the understanding of the supreme science of the Dalai Lama. They built that entire cartoon off of the Dalai Lama. So this child was able to point out a toy that it would like, and whatever toy that it liked or pointed out, it was the same exact toy that the previous Avatar picked out when he was the same age and played with. And the one before him picked out the same toys, and the one before him picked out the same toys, and the one before him, and so forth and so forth. And this is what happened with the Dalai Lama, because when this child came into consciousness at the age of 2, a higher consciousness, this child picked out the same exact friends or people, or knew the same exact people that the previous Dalai Lama knew. And that is how the Dalai Lama is chosen. That's how the Dalai Lama was chosen at that time. And this is everlasting life, because if you study this science and biological application between the sperm, its chromosomes, and how its energy is applied to the woman's genetic makeup, you'll be able to reincarnate yourself physically time after time after time after time again. You look at things like the Bible, Before Jesus, there was Abraham and Isaac. People that did exactly the same thing as Jesus, walked in the same light as Jesus before the New Testament. And when they asked Jesus, "Who are you? Are you not beyond Abraham and Isaac?" Jesus replied, "Before Abraham and Isaac, I am." And this was because of the reincarnation. The biological allegory of the Bible stood for the reincarnation through the science of sperm. So sperm is misunderstood greatly in this time. It's very misunderstood. And at one point in time, sperm was imperative to the black woman's nature, which is to nurture children, because it pertained to what type of children and how her children would act and things of that nature through the X chromosome. And that was a very studied science amongst black women, because they could create whatever child that they wanted through the sperm cell. If you wanted a child that was tall, if you wanted a child that was dark, light, if you wanted a child that was genetically muscular, a child that had telepathy, a child that could levitate. If you wanted a child that can do this, if you want a child that can do that, a child that was a great climber, a great runner, um, um, a great thinker, a child. If you wanted this type of child, all you had to do was get your male to eat this certain thing, which would apply itself to the male sperm. Now, if you think on a critical level, let's go back to the beginning of time, right? Let's say that there was no plants and animals on this planet. There was no plants and animals on this planet. And there was only you, whether you're male or female, and your significant other, whether male or female. How would you survive if you could not kill a fish to eat? If you could not kill a deer to eat? You can't just survive off of just water alone. How would you survive? Thinking on a critical level, opening your imagination, heightening your consciousness. How would you survive? How would you survive if you couldn't kill anything to eat? And only drinking water wasn't enough to sustain your survival. How would you survive? It was just you and your male, or you and your female. And the answer to that is you will survive from one another. By the woman drinking the male sperm and ingesting all of the nutrients to sustain her life, and the male drinking the woman's milk. Drinking the woman's milk and ingesting all of her nutrients and her information, her natural information. It's a two-way street. This is how you would survive, from the woman drinking the sperm and the male drinking the milk from the breast. Now, a lot of women look at me crazy, or a lot of people, look at me crazy when I say that women should have sex. The black woman should have sex with another black woman, simply because this enhances her spirituality and takes her intelligence into a higher cosmic comprehension. Why? Because there is a scientific compound inside of her body known as estradiol. Not estrogen, but estradiol, which is responsible for the production of estrogen and is found in all female life forms. Estradiol has such a divine feminine energy that it can overwhelm the mentality of the black woman. It's so powerful, right? It's so powerful that it could overwhelm her sexuality. Estradiol. You can look all these things up. It could overpower her sexuality. It could make her very sexually active. Very sexually active. And most women become very sexually active because of the feminine energy through estradiol. Because of the feminine energy. The feminine energy is so powerful. It could become overwhelming. It could produce hormones that could impact the very emotion of that black woman. But the black woman does not defy nature like the black man. And what I mean by that is homosexuality is different from lesbianism, right? Homosexuality is a male penetrating sexually another male. And lesbianism is another woman pleasing another woman. Homosexuality is the sin, but not lesbianism. Women being sexually active with other women is not a universal cosmic sin, simply because the other woman cannot penetrate. She cannot penetrate into the other woman. She cannot develop a full sexual understanding of another woman simply because she cannot penetrate. Yeah, a dyke female or a gay female, she can throw on a fucking strap on and penetrate another. But she doesn't have the feeling. She does not know how it feels to be inside, other than her fingers. She do not know how it feels to be deep in that pussy, Deep in that pussy. Hitting regions that persuades the spine of that woman, which is responsible for all of the nerve that travels up and goes into the oblongata, the medulla oblongata. I'm sorry, oblongata. Another woman cannot penetrate another woman, so therefore she cannot commit sexual sin cosmically. But another male could penetrate another male, and male penetration, homosexuality, is not natural. A lot of people say, it has to be natural because the males, for one, the male's G-spot is inside of his anus. That is not true. The male's G-spot is under the frenulum before the refractory period. And a lot of black women don't even know what the fuck I just said. That's how we are. This is why the black woman must pay attention. It's under the frenulum before the refractory period. And if you don't know what these things are, research them. Look into them. Find out what they are. Get to understand your male better. I'm giving you guys game, so to speak. But the male's G-spot is not inside of the anus. That's a misconception. The male becomes the most sexually stimulated right after he ejaculates. The penis becomes so sensitive that if a woman sexually massages this sensitivity, she has to understand the science, the art of this sensitivity. She can make the male ejaculate simultaneously and constantly, meaning that there will be sperm spewing from the male's penis like a water fountain. Instead of it just being a shot off, it'll be spewing forth from the male penis like a water fountain until she wants him to stop. It can go on for hours if she would like. Sperm could come out like a water fountain from the tip of the male penis for hours if she would like. However long she would like. They could just be gushing forth and forth and forth, spewing forth, not shooting out, but coming out like a water fountain. It can constantly come out. This is only if she mastered the art of oral sex. If she mastered the art of fellatio, she mastered the art of giving her man head. Why should she master the art? Simply because your male has been circumcised. And when it comes to your, and also because the black woman does not have an Adam's apple, right? An Adam's apple is not present. So there are muscles inside of her esophagus that can release certain charges simply because she's absent from an Adam's apple. And these muscles that releases these charges could travel into the mind and stimulate the intelligence. I met black women. A lot of black women, or certain black women, we'll say a lot, but certain black women are so-called addictive. They're addicted to giving their man oral sex. They love it. You know, they love it. And this hints on their spirituality. They have a high level of spirituality, a high, strong spirituality. If they're like this, you know. But a man penetrating another man is not natural, you know. And the man's G spot is not inside of the anus. It's not natural simply because a man cannot impregnate another man. That is why it's not natural. It's not organic. So for those black women who say that, okay, it's in nature, why does animals have sex with their other animals and, you know, other male animals, and why is the G-spot inside of the black man's anus? They don't study these things. They don't have a logical sense of consciousness. They deal with a confusion. But just like these other animals have sex with other these male animals have sex with other male animals. Just because animals do it does not mean it's for humans. These other male animals, they also have sex with their offspring. So if you're going to say animals do it, it's natural, it should be natural amongst humans, you should also say that is natural, right? A man or woman having sex with their offspring, you should also say that is natural as well. If you're going to include animals, the action of animals being a natural feat. And we all know that both are not natural. So a man cannot impregnate another woman, which makes homosexuality a sin. And because a man could penetrate another man, that makes it a sin. But a woman could sexually explore. She has to release this overwhelming feminine energy. She has to release this overwhelming feminine energy set in the estradiol compound, which is responsible for the hormone of estrogen. This energy could overwhelm her femininity and kick her sex drive into overdrive. And the universe gave her the allowance to expound on that simply because she cannot penetrate another woman. She cannot fully understand sexually. She cannot sexually fully understand another woman because she cannot penetrate her. So by cosmic divine law, things like lesbianism or a woman sleeping with another woman is allowed. But homosexuality, which is a man sleeping with another man, is not allowed through cosmic law. So we have to understand sex. We have to explore sex. We have to know what sex is. And we have to biologically apply this sex to our overall consciousness. But as God Molecular, here to spread the religion of Mofadai, which is the religion of no religion, here to dismantle and disassemble all religion by the year 2034. I thank you guys for tuning in. I come as Amen, reincarnated this new age, that of the 226th dynasty, which stemmed from King Solomon, who held a descendant by the name of Haile Selassie I, who occupied that of the 225th dynasty. 3 salutes. Ready? Go. And that is in tribute to Amen, as he was known as the most logical and and the most imperative deity or being at his time. I come as him, reincarnated to usher in the new age of Aquarius, also known as the age of the six, as we have transpired from the age of the Pisces, also known as the age of the seven, and that is as of August 21st, 2017, titled Day of the Great American Eclipse. I can't tell you how many people laugh at me because I do the three salutes, but it's a form of humility, and it's also is to pay homage and respect to myself, which is Amun Ra, and my kiddish nature. You know, it's for children and the understanding of my kiddish nature. That's why I do the three salutes. Ha ha ha! Because it respects my kiddish nature. And you study, brothers like Michael Jackson, who was the greatest musician to ever exist in our lifetime. He always said or stated that he had gotten his dance moves and, musical creativity from children. We have to respect and understand children. So Amun Ra always had a kiddish nature. He was a big, big kid. And even though I'm an intellectual, he was kid at heart. But I thank you guys for tuning in. I thank you guys for joining. It's God Molecular. Peace.